where he delves deeper into these issues. If you are interested in more insightful videos, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for regular updates. Thank you and enjoy the video.
Sisi is widely viewed inside his own country as an Israeli/American puppet because he's refused to take any action. We talk a great deal about leveling Gaza. We forget that Sisi leveled the city of Rafah, which is just on the other side of the border from Gaza. I mean, leveled it, really. We watched it go on in 2015. Part of this was connected to the larger war on Islamism in the Sinai, because you had ISIS or ISIS chapters and other ISIS-like elements spontaneously rising in the Sinai. And the Egyptians committed their own military power to deal with it because it was also naturally, in their eyes, bound up with criminality, smuggling and corruption and so forth. Rafah was leveled with a goal in mind of making it impossible for anyone to gain a foothold in Gaza, in Sinai. And at the same time, he and his fellow elites viewed the people in Gaza as a catalyst for trouble. In other words, we don't want them because they'll just bring the war with Israel to Egypt. And we can't afford them. We have too many people as it is. We haven't got the infrastructure for them. We destroyed Rafah. There's nothing out there. So, we can't deal with this. Well, the tide has turned now. And you have, as I said before, this ethno-religious nationalism where people in Egypt are saying, wait a minute, these are Muslims like us. They're being exterminated. They are being driven like animals into the desert. How can we stand by and do nothing? And Sisi has walked this tightrope for a long time, but now he has to ask himself every morning, who among my senior military leaders is going to remove me on the grounds that Egypt must join the fight against Israel? This is a real concern. You have a different set of circumstances, but similar in some ways in Jordan, where the king of Jordan has always been a very close, strong, reliable friend, certainly since the 70s of the United States and the United Kingdom. He has a population that is overwhelmingly Palestinian. It is no longer even half and half. It used to be majority Bedouin and related, or at least connected to him in terms of loyalty and so forth. That's no longer the case. The Palestinians in Jordan are also enraged. They're seeing what's happening on the West Bank. We don't cover the West Bank, but there's a lot of violence in the West Bank. Violence committed on both sides, and specifically by settlers against the Arabs that live there. And of course, the government is encouraging what I would call preemptive strikes. In other words, it's almost in the same realm as Stalin's notion of prophylactic defense. Kill the citizen before he has a chance to commit a crime. Well, in some respects, that's happening on the West Bank. And then we move over to Syria. Syria is comatose. Syria is a zombie. It's not recovered from this terrible civil war. Hundreds of thousands of people have been killed or driven out of their homes. Assad wants to survive, and his enemy has historically been Mr. Erdogan, because Mr. Erdogan has been only too happy to support all the radical Islamist elements. He'll never admit it publicly, but he and his intelligence officers were very, very, very important players in the stand-up of ISIS that was supposed to attack Shiites. Only it became Frankenstein's monster and attacked in every direction against everybody. And now he is backed off from that because he realizes he has a greater and more powerful enemy, and that enemy is in Israel. To the point where he's now willing to talk to the Iranians, which is something he's never done before. So those are the situations north. When you go down into the Arabian Peninsula, and you look at the Emirates and Saudi Arabia, the Emirates are at risk, and so's the House of Saud, because their populations are equally enraged at what is happening in Gaza. Now the Houthis step forward, and the Houthis have now begun interfering with commercial shipping traffic for all the reasons that they're Shiite Arabs, and they want to demonstrate their commonality of purpose and ethnic nationalism with the people of Gaza. And we are answering this by saying, well, see, this is Iran provoking this. Just as Iran is provoking Hezbollah, Iran is provoking the Shiite militias in Iraq and so forth. No, it's not really true. Iran has worked tirelessly to stay out of the fight. The Iranians want nothing to do with the war right now. And these Shiite Arab militias, if you want to call them that, they're acting on their national identity. What is that? Well, they are Arabs and Muslims. And so they are going to act one way or another against the West. Iran has to maintain good relations with them. They want to keep them on side, but they're not necessarily pushing them, because right now Iran and Saudi Arabia continue to hammer out agreements that are in both of their interests. So Iran really doesn't want this war to break out in a way that would destroy all the work that's being done by Iran, Saudi Arabia, and China to bring some measure of stability and peace to the region. And remember, the Chinese depend very heavily on the Persian Gulf, the oil and the gas, as well as food coming in from Africa. So they're not interested in a war in the region. That brings you then around to Mr. Erdogan. Well, if you walk around Istanbul right now, there are signs all over the city about Israel, the apartheid state, Israel, the criminal state, the Israelis, war criminals. The population in Turkey is enraged. So Mr. Erdogan, who has been very comfortable posturing as what I would call a neo-Ottoman nationalist, now suddenly has a tiger in his tank, so to say. He's got a tiger that he's holding on to it. And at some point, he's going to have to decide what to do with the tiger, because he doesn't want the tiger to eat him. So I think I would say that all of these regimes, to one extent or another, are all riding their own version of a tiger. And they're trying to figure out how to keep the tiger from getting out of control. I think the tiger is going to get out of control. Because you're talking about feudal states in terms of political development and modernization in the peninsula and the Persian Gulf. And all of those places, the leadership can be very rapidly replaced by new leadership. I mean, relatives may step forward and say, I'll lead the crusade. At some point, they're all going to be driven to that outcome. And then here we sit, and we remain Israel's only real friend. And we're sitting offshore, and we're prepared to help them. I mean, we've flown and shipped in enormous quantities of ammunition and weapons, technology the Israelis need. And we're saying, please, try not to kill civilians. And the numbers of civilians keep dying in greater and greater numbers. I mean, the increase is unending. So we want this to end, but we're paralyzed because Mr. Netanyahu and his supporters in the United States have purchased the Senate and the House and the White House. And they have powerful backers, billionaires, who have provided plenty of money for a long period of time to ensure that the United States will provide unconditional support to Israel. So what's going to happen here in the United States, I think, is that there's going to be a groundswell of people, mostly younger people, that are going to step up. It may end up looking like 69, 70, 71 in the United States during the Vietnam War, where people say, no more. We will not be a party to this. But the people on the Hill are still very comfortable receiving their benefits from supporting Israel unconditionally. So anybody who says, what happens next? Look at that puzzle now. If we attack the Houthis have made it clear they will destroy the oil refineries and the oil drilling platforms all over Saudi Arabia and the Emirates. And people say, well, that can't be done. No, it can be done. These are all very vulnerable installations. You don't even need to destroy all of them. If you destroy a portion, you're going to make a huge dent in the economic stability of the West and potentially China.
Beyond the geopolitical and security dimensions, the Israel-Palestine conflict has had a profound humanitarian impact. Displacement, economic hardship, and restricted access to essential services have taken a devastating toll on the lives of countless individuals in the region. The international community plays a significant role in shaping the trajectory of the Israel-Palestine conflict. From diplomatic interventions to humanitarian aid, global stakeholders have a vested interest in contributing to a sustainable and equitable resolution. It's imperative for the international community to remain actively engaged in efforts to de-escalate tensions and facilitate constructive dialogue between the parties involved. As we conclude our analysis, it's clear that the Israel-Palestine conflict defies easy answers. What are your thoughts on the interview? Share your observations in the comments section below, Also ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.